Open back and planar magnetic headphones are relatively new in the gaming space, and practically non-existent in the productivity office environment. The Hifiman Sundara are a staple in the audiophile community because of its neutral sound, clarity, and soundstage. But how does that translate in work and gaming? The Sundaras are a very comfortable set of headphones where I'm able to wear them for 8+ hours despite getting warm relatively quickly. They're made of mostly spring steel for the floating style leatherette headband, and various metals for the yoke and ear cups, but thankfully not the earpads. The stock earpads are plush and have a lot of room. They're also angled for an improved contact with the back of the head. Mine have started to come apart due to the glue failing after years of use. You can glue them back together and I don't believe it would change the sound if at all. But the pads are also easily removable, making replacements easy to find and install. The wires out of the box are stiff and don't come with a built-in mic. You would think this would make them useless in an office setting, but there are a lot of replacement cables that include a mic, or if you're like me, use a dedicated mic. But these Sundaras are also an open back, which leaks sound. Currently you're listening to this mic with loud music playing and I've started typing in the background. Moving over to the shotgun mic with loud music and again typing in the background. But normally in an office environment like a tech support call center, you won't really be able to listen to music. Which is why I've now moved back to this mic, but with a podcast at a comfortable listening volume. And now typing on a regular keyboard. Now, the shotgun mic with a podcast at a comfortable listening volume, and again, the same keyboard. It's not as bad as you'd think. You can still hear people around you without taking them off, such as a floor manager or a coworker. Problem is if you're easily distractible or require lots of volume. Sound does leak to the rest of your neighbors and vice versa. Working from home, this isn't a problem, allowing you to hear the door ring or the cat dropping terribly expensive items on the floor. The Sundara can be used for audio mixing work, with its mostly neutral sound, while sounding natural to the ears without the feeling of bass pushing through the rest of the body. Before the gaming capability, I'll go through what the Sundaras fully sound like. The general profile of the Sundaras can be described as a warm-leaning neutral sound. Having planar magnetic drivers though, it's only when there's some added power. With some power, the bass is slightly elevated to add some warmth, making it sound natural or less clinical, where you get the feeling of an all-encompassing bass sound without a lot of the pressure, allowing the bass to be prominent without overpowering the mids and vocals in a track like Stay By Me by Louis the Child and Absolutely. Without power, the bass leans a little more neutral and flat. It is present but more like a background wallflower. The mids and vocals with power have a slight husk of warmth, almost as if the singer and instruments are in a well-padded room, toning down harshness without losing all the roughness or grit in the vocals. And the depth of the instruments you can find in the track Irish Goodbye by K-Flay featuring Vic Fuentes. Without power, it has a softer husk to the warmth but still retains some depth and texture. The treble with power has great presence. It feels polished and controlled while sometimes dipping into sibilance, keeping in line with the bass, mids, and vocals, even in a busy track like False Confidence by Noah Kahan. Without power, it doesn't dip into sibilance, there's more presence with less polish, and it feels less airy. However, the Sundaras don't actually sound airy despite the open back nature. The soundstage feels very in your head, so to speak. Being an open back, the spaciousness is mostly from the sound of the room that you're in. Don't get me wrong, there's a spaciousness to the sound despite the soundstage existing in your head. The imaging or directionality on the Sundaras are weird, where it feels like there's a flat wall of sound to either side of you, bringing us to the gaming capability. But before that, make sure to subscribe for more content on tech and their capabilities in both gaming and productivity. But for gaming, even though the imaging feels like a wall on either side of you, and the forward imaging only the basic 3 directions, front, front left, and front right, it's counterintuitively usable for FPS gaming, because the wall to the left and right I mentioned is more like a precision tracker. In Apex, I could accurately hear opponents move from behind me in small 5-degree increments right until they pop into my field of view on my screen, which then means I can simply see them on the screen, making the low accuracy of the front imaging a slight inconvenience at best, and because it's not that precise, I could easily tell if they're moving to my left or right, completely ignoring jiggle movements. If you're thinking this is worse without power, it's not. There's no noticeable difference. The same goes for sound separation. All the sounds feel cohesive and not too separate for it to be distracting, making it great for AAA single-player experiences with explosions, action, and music all at once, or movie watching. And as I've mentioned in the sound section, these soundtracks feel more spacious and detailed. The Sundaras can be great in both work and gaming environments, with the huge caveat of being a planar magnetic open back. Issues like sound leak potentially causing problems with the person in your neighboring cubicle, and vice versa, issues with loud neighbors, but allowing you to be aware of your surroundings, never missing those delivery drivers again. For a set of close-back headphones, check out this video on a headphone heavily leaning into the bassy side without completely compromising on FPS gaming experience. I'm your host Naka, have a nice one. Of course, after your reviews, it's when I start testing them for a review, the glue falls apart.